Florence is one of the most famous cities in Italy and a hotspot on the country's tourist trail. Few people miss it, especially if they are visiting Italy for the first time. With stunning Renaissance architecture, winding streets, and picturesque white buildings capped with red roofs, Florence is one of my favorite spots in Italy. If you love art, the number of galleries here will keep you busy for weeks. There are also beautiful Renaissance churches to be explored, and you could easily spend hours on foot wandering the manicured pathways at the Boboli Gardens. The city is also a great jumping-off point for Tuscan winery and food tours. Moreover, Florence is a popular study abroad location, so the city also boasts incredible nightlife. This Florence travel guide can help you plan your trip and make the most of your time in this classic Italian city. Top 5 things to see and do in Florence. 1. Galleria di Uffizi. The Uffizi holds the world's most important collection of Renaissance art, including The Birth of Venus and La Primavera by Botticelli, Bacchus by Caravaggio, and Doni Tondo by Michelangelo. Towards the end of the gallery, there are some portraits and Dutch works that are beautiful too. 2. Climb Il Duomo. One of Florence's most popular sites is the Duomo, the cathedral. This huge Gothic building was started in 1296 and is part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site that covers Florence Historic Center. Filippo Brunelleschi, known as the father of Renaissance architecture, engineered the famous dome, which is still the largest brick dome ever constructed. The real highlight is the view from the top, where you get a panoramic look at Florence and its iconic red roofs. 3. Walk along Ponte Vecchio. The Ponte Vecchio is a medieval bridge, built in 1345 as the city's first bridge across the Arno River. Today, it's the only surviving historic bridge in Florence, as all the others were destroyed in World War II. The bridge is lined with shops selling gold and silver jewelry. It's close to vehicular traffic, making it a fun place to stroll around. 4. See David. Housed in the Galleria dell'Accademia, Michelangelo's 16th century David is one of the most impressive sculptures in the world. At 5.17 meters, 17 feet tall, it's a lot bigger and more detailed than you think it would be. This is the one piece of art in the city that is a must-see. 5. Wander the Giardino di Boboli. Commonly known as the Boboli Gardens, the Medicis, an Italian banking family and powerful dynasty, 4 popes were Medici family members, designed the landscape and architecture here in the Tuscan Renaissance style that later influenced aristocratic and royal gardens throughout Europe. The gardens are absolutely gorgeous, with ancient marble statues and large fountains everywhere, and the scent from the citrus trees completely flooding your senses. Other things to see and do in Florence. Take a walking tour. Walking tours are a wonderful way to learn about Florence, and there are a handful of excellent free tours in the city. They cover all the highlights and are the perfect introduction to the city. Visit the baptistry. Consecrated in 1059, the baptistry of John the Baptist is one of Florence's oldest buildings. The octagonal baptistry that you see today was rebuilt from an earlier building dating back to the 4th to 5th century CE. It was here where famous Renaissance figures, including poet Dante Alighieri and members of the Medici family, were baptized. Standout features include the 3 sets of huge bronze doors and the interior of the dome, which is covered in golden mosaics. Visit the Piazza Michelangelo. Head to the Piazza Michelangelo on the south side of the Arno River for a great cityscape view. It requires a good hike up a hill, but it's a great way to see the stunning view of the city without paying to climb the Duomo. Admire Palazzo Pitti. Palazzo Pitti was built in 1457 for the Pitti family and was later sold to the Medici family in 1549. As major patrons of the arts, this palace serves as a beautiful ode to the Medici family's contribution to the cultural advancement of Florence. Explore the National Museum of Bargello. The museum, which originally dates to the 13th century, is home to original works by Bandinelli, Donatello, Antonio Rossellino, and other Renaissance masters. It has the largest Italian collection of Renaissance and Gothic sculptures in the country. Visit the Sant'Ambrogio market. Sant'Ambrogio is one of the oldest districts in the city, and in fact is the oldest market in Florence, having been around since 1873. Although it's just a 10-minute walk from the Duomo, the market here is completely underrated. While you are here, try some traditional foods like lampredotto, cured meats like finocchiona, fennel salami, pecorino sheep's cheese, and local wines. Hang out in Piazza Santo Spirito. Piazza Santo Spirito is a public square located in the quiet district of the Oltrarno. In the mornings, the place is bustling with market stalls. Once the sun goes down, locals flock to the bars and restaurants. There is a nice church to admire at the center of it all as well. Visit the Stibbert Museum. This is one of Florence's most interesting and unique museums, though it doesn't get the same attention as the city's other museums since it's tucked away on the outskirts of town. This is the private collection of Frederick Stibbert, who also donated his villa and gardens to the city. There is some fascinating stuff amongst the collection of 36,000 artifacts, including historic armor from the Middle East and a completely reconstructed army of medieval knights sitting on their horses in the Great Hall. The main attraction, Napoleon Bonaparte's cloak from when he was coronated. Sup on the Arno River. If you want a unique way to see the Arno River, head out for a stand-up paddleboarding session with Toscana Sup. You'll paddle your way underneath the Ponte Vecchio and then take a break for a glass of Chianti. You're in Italy, after all. Check out the Biblioteca delle Oblate. This public library is housed in the former convent of the Oblate and is a popular study spot for students. It's an important cultural center too, with an entire section dedicated to local history on the first floor. When you're done browsing, go to the rooftop terrace for a coffee at the Cafeteria delle Oblate. There is a great view of the Duomo from here, and it's never crowded with tourists. Admire Santa Croce. Santa Croce is the largest Franciscan church in Italy and holds the tomb of Michelangelo. There are also funerary monuments to Dante and Leonardo da Vinci here too. It's an interesting place to explore if you have already covered the highlights and have extra time in town. There are usually rotating exhibitions here as well. Take a vineyard tour. Florence is surrounded by vineyards, many of which can be accessed via day tours. Most tours visit a couple of vineyards and include some samples. Many vineyards also operate B&Bs or Airbnbs, which makes for a nice getaway if you want to splash out for a night. Take a food tour. To learn more about the history and culture behind Florence cuisine, take a food tour. It's the best way to eat your way around the city, sampling the best eats Florence has to offer while learning what makes the cuisine unique.